And our first speaker, she has worked with many different NGOs over the years, like Plan International and Greenpeace. And driven to improve the world, she has worked with co-creation processes in various industries, like the restaurant industry, the car industry, and also now the textile and fashion industry. And in the project Baltic Secondhand, she has worked with a design process resulting in a circular economy business models for textile companies in Estonia, Finland, Latvia, and Sweden. Please welcome Salla Kuuluvainen. Give her a big hand.
Good morning, everyone. How can design help in creating circular transition in the textile industry? So I will tell you some experiences we've had in the Baltic Secondhand project by Laurea University of Applied Sciences in Finland, Turku University of Applied Sciences, Latvian Chamber of Commerce, Sustainability InnoCenter in Sweden, and Tallinn Creative Incubators. Textile waste is a global problem. Did you know that every single garment made out of synthetic materials still exists in this world in one way or another? Also, some other impacts of the textile industry. It's one of the most polluting industries in the world. It's the third highest industry for water consumption and land use. It's the fifth highest in the use of primary raw materials and climate gas emissions. And fast fashion alone creates more emissions than aviation and shipping combined. And also, we as consumers, we buy way too many clothes. For example, in Finland, we buy on average 38 pieces of clothing per year, when a sustainable amount would be 5 pieces. So maybe have a little think about it. How many pieces of clothing did you buy last year? Was it 5 or over 30? And we produce 12 kgs of textile waste per year per person in the EU, and only 1% of textile waste is recycled. So in the Baltic Secondhand project, we try to solve these challenges in our own way. So we want to help organizations in the fashion and textile industry in Finland, Sweden, Estonia, and Latvia to create new services and products that are more sustainable and in alignment with circular economy. And why? I actually think that the dress that I'm wearing today also quite well illustrates what's happening in the market today. So when I was young and we would buy a lot of secondhand clothing, how we would do it? We would go to some flea market where there would be all these like tables, and you would rummage through and find something, and then you would like haggle, kind of like, oh, this is €2, can I get it for €1? And then you would go home with your find. How I bought this dress, however, is on the way here, I went to the airport of Helsinki-Vantaa, and on the airport, there is actually a second-hand store. It's very fancy with a cafe and very nice interior design. So I bought this Finnish design dress. It's very new. And I must admit, I did buy quite a lot of more money for it than €1. So I think this somehow illustrates the possibilities in this market at the moment and the change that is happening. So there is an expected growth in the global second-hand apparel market by 127% by the year 26. And also, the consumers are really wanting these new products and services, and there are large segments of young people, for example, who only buy second-hand market at the moment. So the textile industry needs to innovate and co-create to reduce the textile waste. And also the EU legislation that we also talked about yesterday is changing to kind of enforce these things as well. So in our project, the companies get to develop existing or new circular business models, services, and other solutions, and identify new business opportunities, And of course, we want to also encourage consumers' use of circular business models and services. And what is circular economy? I think maybe many of you already know this. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. But it's a model of production and consumption that involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, refurbishing, and recycling existing materials and products as long as possible. So what it can mean for the textile industry? There's plenty of opportunity there. So for example, in recycling or upcycling, we see companies that recycle fibers, like Spinnova in Finland, or Renewshell, that unfortunately I think went bankrupt. But so they take fibers and recycle them into new fabrics. We can also see companies like Mud Jeans that collect fabrics like old jeans and make new products out of those. There are also opportunities to repair more. So this is, of course, ancient. Clothes have always been repaired, except for now, when I think we've sort of a little bit lost the skill to repair them. But there are some new organizations, for example, Mended in the Netherlands. They offer a new digital platform where you can send in your clothing very easily and get it repaired. We also have sharing platforms. For example, in Finland, we have a startup called Robes Rental, where people can peer rent their nice designer clothing for other people and then get to use for a cheap price, for example, a Gucci bag or something like that. Or we have offering products as a service. So this could mean companies that offer clothing as rentals. So you can rent your clothing instead of owning it. So the benefits for circular economy can be related to consumer engagement. So we really are able to meet the needs of these new eco-conscious consumers that are appearing in the market. They can be economical, so they are allowed to maximize the value of the product and help to reduce the cost of material as well. And of course, the environmental, so reducing the use of virgin materials, pollution, and waste. So this is what we are doing in the Baltic Secondhand project. As there are many designers here, I think you are very familiar with this first image. So that is the infamous double diamond. So we are using this process as our backbone of our process in the Baltic Secondhand. And then where we try to aim at is to get into these circular textile solutions. These are some value chains. So we want to improve these value chains in the region to get more from the linear way of thinking into these circular value chains. So we have started by actually researching the challenges and opportunities for textile companies in this region. And also we've looked into how consumers are feeling about these things in the region. We've analyzed and synthesized the data, and then we ideated together with companies in a co-creation process, concepts and new ideas. And now we are there in the prototyping and testing phase. Here you can see a little bit the timeline. So we are in 24, so we are kind of in the middle of this project. It's all kind of still happening, so we are not at the end of it yet. So we are here now in the prototyping and testing, so we've ideated lots of solutions. And next spring we will go into piloting those solutions with companies. So first, of course, it's very important to understand what are the actual needs and motivations of consumers in this area. So we've done quite extensive research with surveys and interviews in the region. And here is some of our results. So we created these consumer personas. A persona is a common design tool. I think many of you know this. So we use these personas with our work with the companies for them to understand what kind of challenges or behaviors or attitudes there are with the different kinds of consumers and how those could be utilized in new product development. So here we have the classic dresser who doesn't at all like secondhand clothing and wants to just dress in a classy way. So these are some questions that emerged from the research. How might we create products or services that retain the value of textiles? How might we extend the life cycle of textile by using digital solutions? And what are the biggest challenges and opportunities of collaboration in the textile reuse chain? So we used those questions, and then we created these co-creation opportunities. So Textile Redesign Jam, we invited consumers to create design these solutions to challenges identified by companies. We had 5 companies, and this event took place in 4 different countries at the same time, and also online. It was very complex to organize. And then anyone who was interested in the topic could join and do this design jam together with us. And here we can see some of the prototypes that emerged. We also did co-creation workshops with 50+ textiles companies from these regions. You can see some names there. We had small SMEs, big companies, also some companies that already do secondhand, some companies that are totally new to it, some logistics companies, very different types. And then from that, we got these new ideas. And here are some examples of the ideas that emerged from this co-creation process. We had 4 different workshops with topics like customer engagement and service development and collaboration. And then we have ideas like a clothes rental service for travelers and digital platforms for textile waste collection. So all kinds of new ideas. And what is happening now is we have now presented these ideas to the companies, and they have chosen something they want to develop together with us. So we are right now in the midst of prototyping workshops, and we are doing testing with the companies and seeing what kind of feedback we get for these concepts from actual consumers and users in this region. And yeah, it's really an ongoing work at the moment. You can see some examples from our Miro boards. And then in the spring, we want to then take up a piloting process with the companies that then kind of implements these solutions on like a deeper level and trying to find how they then actually work. I had a video. Unfortunately, due to technical reasons, we are not able to show it today, but I think you will get these slides and you can check it out later. So it's done for UF and Humana in Estonia by one of our students. So thank you. You can email to me or follow us on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much, Salla. I have to ask you, what's the biggest success about this project?
Well, I think the biggest success has been that we have been able to actually engage these companies. It's not always easy, especially since we come from like academia. So how do we actually get all these companies to co-create with us and bring their expertise and ideas? So I think that has been a really good success in this project.
Yeah, and you have big companies and you have like really small ones. And they collaborate together in a good way.
Yeah.
So what has been most challenging?
Well, I think somehow the collaboration is still a challenge, because I think like how we do design processes, it's like we talk a lot about co-creation and we kind of co-create, but when it needs to be, the collaboration needs to be on like a strategic level and on a business level. So then the design process doesn't naturally lead to those type of collaborations. So how to facilitate that is maybe the biggest question at the moment for us. Yeah.
And do you see any differences between the countries?
Some differences, yes, but I think somehow also the challenges and opportunities for the companies are a lot the same in this region.
Okay. Thank you very much, Salla.
Thank you.